The week began with the State of the Union, and it is closing with the release of the memo. The president clearly believes he's got the political mojo at this point, so is he right? Let's ask Vince Colanese, editorial director, Daily Caller, and host WMAL Mornings on the Mall, and Juan Williams, co-host of The Five. He's made the trip back to Washington. I'm here in New York, so we'll keep each other's seats warm until we're back where we're supposed to be. Good to see you both tonight.
Nice to see you, Shannon.
Okay, so we've heard a lot from the Democrats today saying this is all about undermining Mueller. So I thought it was interesting that Trey Gowdy, it turns out he was one of the key authors of this memo. He saw all the underlying intelligence, said this: as I have repeatedly said, I also remain 100% confident in special counsel Robert Mueller. The contents of this memo do not in any way discredit his investigation. So, Juan, are these claims about this all being about discrediting Mueller just smoke?
No, I think that, in fact, Speaker of the House Paul Ryan said very much the same thing, that he believes in the Mueller investigation, thinks it should continue, as clearly in the polls a majority of the American people do. It's overwhelming. But when you put out this kind of memo, I don't think there's any question that it does damage to the reputation of the FBI. We just listened to your very good interview with Congressman Gates. I mean, he is saying the FBI was politically biased and used politically weaponized, I think is what he said, in a way that was intended to damage one political candidate's campaign. And if you believe that, and then you believe that the Department of Justice, and in particularly Rod Rosenstein, the Deputy Attorney General, signed off on FISA request, knowing that this was false, of course, as an American, you would say, hey, that's not us, that's not the American people, that's wrong. So that would therefore call into question the entire probe.
All right. Well, there are Republicans, including, as I said, Trey Gowdy, the author of this memo, who says that's absolutely not what it's about. Okay, so let's read another tweet. This one comes to us from former Secretary of State John Kerry, and I can see Vince already smiling about this. It says the Nunes memo is dangerous, ugly, and an assault on the integrity of the institutions of our country. I lived through Watergate Nixon. America pays a very steep price when a political party tries to undermine the institutions that hold us together. And the whole world suffers when that happens to America. In Watergate, the difference was, regardless of party, eventually leaders on both sides said enough. The adults in the House GOP know better and need to act like it. Vince, today, I thought it was interesting that Chairman Nunes said this was only phase one, this memo you got today. Our next step is looking at the State Department and what role they may have played.
Yeah, I think there's all sorts of questions about the behavior of the government, especially during the 2016 election. And, you know, you just remember, think back to the conclusion of the election. You had Democrats questioning the FBI and the role it played in making Hillary Clinton lose the election, because James Comey was going out in public and saying things in a very unconventional manner about the nature of her investigation, which was a far more mature investigation than any examination into Trump and Russia at that moment. So now, all of a sudden, questions about the FBI's integrity are considered attacks on patriotism, when obviously this is really about, I think in some sense, both parties kind of trying to call attention when appropriate to at times when they think the decisions by the FBI are the wrong ones. I think that, you know, at any given moment, we should be skeptical, especially the way a secret court conducts itself. A court that who conducts all of its operations in secrecy is going to be prone to make a couple of errors away from the direction of civil liberties. And I'm looking for civil libertarians on the left. I don't know where they went, because up until recently, most civil libertarians on the left would have said, okay, you know what? You need good evidence to spy on an American citizen. And I think that's in question today.
I mean, Juan, this is something that has drawn people from across the spectrum, this idea of FISA and these courts and the monitoring. I mean, from Ron Wyden way on the left to, you know, Rand Paul and the GOP and others. Do you think that there's some common ground that people can say all Americans should be asking questions about this and exactly how it worked? And as an average citizen, regardless of your party, you should be concerned about getting answers.
Of course. But let me just point out that Devin Nunes, who led this, voted for the reauthorization of the Patriot Act recently and the FISA court. So that what you see is they're saying, yes, we believe in the FISA court, believe in what they're doing. They had the opportunity at that point to ask the questions. I think this is quite separate. Of course, we all want to make sure that our liberties are protected and that people are not unfairly targeted by government. But Shannon, in this instance, what it looks like is you have people going after our institutions. And I think this is what former Secretary of State Kerry was referring to, going after an institution that has been widely respected by the American people, and not just FBI, but then justice and others.
Very quickly, Vince, I want to make sure I give you another bite
Sure,
of this.
but
Is this about going after institutions or about people who may have misinformed those institutions?
Look, I think that there needs to be a distinction here. Bill Maher said it recently. There's such a thing now in our culture as distinction deniers, people who refuse to see the difference between questioning, I think, the things that have evidence here, like political appointees making apparently poor decisions in political ones versus saying that we're attacking the rank and file in the FBI. That's just not happening. There's questions about the leadership here, and there's good reason for that. It's because you have the Clinton campaign leading a guy that they paid to the FBI's doorstep and getting him to help kickstart an investigation into people within the Trump campaign that seems to be based on very, very thin evidence.
But that's
I'm looking
not
forward to all
attacking
that.
the substance, Vince. There's nothing about the substance.
Well, if it's about the substance of what was presented to the FISA court, that is the discussion. But we got to leave it there. So I thank you both, and I hope you have a fantastic weekend, both of you, Vince and Juan.
Thank you.
We miss you.
Miss you too.
We do.
See you soon.